You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at wearelibertarians.com. You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Liberty Podcast. This is episode number 257 of the Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrill. Today I am joined by my forever co-host, Dakota Davis. How we doing, buddy?
That's right. Today's episode features Mr. Devon Guffey. We're going to be talking to Devon about all kinds of things, but mainly with him we're going to be talking about competitive fishing and what that whole entire world looks like. This is all new to me, Devon, in case you didn't know by the questions I put in the show notes. I know nothing about it. We're also going to be talking about the Henry County Bicentennial opened the time capsule.
You mispronounced it.
What did I say?
You said bicentennial.
The Bicentennial Committee, they opened the time capsule over the weekend. That's exciting. And then at the very end of the show, we're going to talk about some tornadoes that hit close to home just yesterday, last night.
Indeed.
So make sure you stick around until the very end. I think that we have some good knowledge that can come out of that, so you'll want to hear it.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll make you laugh, but hopefully you'll always learn something new. If you are a member of our Patreon, you learned about something horrible I accidentally did. It wasn't horrible. It was just it was a learn by mistakes situation.
Trial and error.
Growing up on the farm.
It's horrible if you live in Noblesville.
Yep.
It's everyday life if you live in Fountain City. So it just depends on your location.
So
the gravity of the situation.
Noted patron and former prosecutor Craig DaCosta. I'm sure he'll listen to it and he'll give us feedback and let us know. Just there's a sign, the billboard that I think PETA does about where do you draw the line between animals and pets, and it's like somewhere in here, right around here. We'll let Craig have the ruling and decide which side of the line I fell on that one.
Here's the thing: when it comes to stuff like that, I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here. So, like every Mother's Day and stuff, you see people that talk about like, "Well, I don't have kids, but I have my dogs." I might have thought that at one point in time. Because I love my dogs, but I'm telling you,
I swear to God, if this story ends with, but I'll eat them if I have to.
I'm telling you right now, after having a kid, I have a son. If it meant that my son was going hungry and starving, I'd kill my dogs to feed them.
Yeah, but you're going to have literally dozens of rabbits.
That's how it is. That's just how it is. The love that you have for your children is nothing like what it is for your pets. You may think it is before you have children. I did. I fell into that trap.
Oh, not me. I am heartless.
But I'm telling you, it's totally different. So just, fair bit of warning.
I'm a big fan of my dogs. And when we complete the life cycle, you know what that means?
You get a new dog.
Time to get a puppy.
Yeah.
It's
or a near identical replacement to your last dog.
Zach, tonight you are really making it sound like I have a problem.
You replace Riley with Miley.
Riley?
No, it's the dog's name is Nash.
Yeah.
The best part is that we are getting ready to make the same trip we did 2 years ago, which was the completion of our time with Riley. So the Google machine had, the Google photos come up, and
it looks like you've already made the trip.
It likes to show you pictures from what you were doing 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. So now we're getting inundated with these pictures of Riley in his last great journey.
It is so sad. Like, to have a dog put down is the worst thing in the world. Let's not talk about it anymore.
Be worse.
Patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty. If you've listened to the show for a very long time, then you probably remember back in the days where we would make our guests, like Mr. Devon Guffey, who's sitting here right now, sit through and suffer through a 30-minute portion of us just talking about what went on in our lives for the last week. Now we do that in the Patreon portion, but
we still
make our
the guests sit through it. However, we get paid for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you are a long-time listener and you're wondering where that segment went, then you can sign up at patreon.com/BossHogOfLiberty and go hear it there. You also get show notes before the show. You get access to a super secret Facebook group, all kinds of really good stuff. Occasionally we will send out gifts, and there are some other bonus benefits along the way. But if you sign up at $50 or more a month, then you get a shout-out at the front of every episode. Those folks, our long-haul trucker friend who has sent us pictures of beef jerky from Montana, Mr. Anthony Meyer. Then we have Mr. Jonathan Phillips, our favorite car dealer in the continental United States, and then Miss Christy Avery, the most generous person that we know from all the way in Fort Wayne. So we also have T-Chip stores. We're going to be dropping a link to those in the live stream chat so that it is easy for you to click on all of that stuff.
For the folks from Devon's fan base that are watching, we're on Facebook Live. We're also a podcast, so you can subscribe on Spotify, iTunes, BossHogOfLiberty.com, anywhere podcasts are sold.
And YouTube, but
we're efforting some of the YouTube is a back end thing. It's not the live stream.
No cap, for real, we're not on TikTok.
Facts.
So Devon is here, and he does have some TikTok fame. We are mostly going to try to talk about fishing with him. I don't think there will be any barking involved or whatever the hell else you do.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, none of that, because I don't think Zach can get the right music queued up to do that crap. But
rap.
That stuff.
Yeah, it's cool. It's okay. I mean, I like talking about fishing more.
To do those assorted things. But you have developed quite the following over there as well.
All right.
On the Chinese app.
Yes, exactly.
The
trying to make myself sound as old and impossible as I can.
The Bicentennial opened the time capsule. We had Scott Frost and Miss Carrie Barrett. They were on the show last week, and we talked to them about everything that's going on with the Henry County 200 Bicentennial celebration. There was a time capsule buried in 1972 by the citizens of Henry County, and apparently back in 1972 we didn't know how to waterproof things very well. So,
Devon, are you aware of this? Did you see that?
I watched it. I looked at it on Facebook. I saw all the pictures. Didn't really read any of the words, but definitely looked at the pictures.
Top to bottom, left to right, put the sounds together.
Yep.
The best part was I found out my mom, her summer job was the sesquicentennial.
She was the waterproofing
and I was
administrator.
like, and after they got open, I was like, Jane, I don't know if I'd be telling anybody that you were on that. You were on that committee.
So I just insulted your mother.
I mean,
cool.
Yeah, I don't think she didn't have anything to do with that, but that was her summer job. Was just like they had an office just around the corner here in the Church Street gym, and like sold merch and had all kinds of things. She had like thousands of people involved, and yeah, it was like a huge deal for the entire summer. I said, well, apparently you didn't have anybody assigned to waterproofing the time capsule. I was like, because it looked
they
real
first
rough.
get to the top of it, and it is in a like concrete.
It's in a vault.
Vault. Yeah.
Yes.
So you're like, okay.
And then it appears that they use some sort of a box made out of wood paneling.
That's just like plywood. It's probably you walk into a house from the 70s and they have that fake wood paneling up everywhere.
Yeah, it looked about like that thick.
They probably just used that from a construction site. Yeah.
It looked. I mean, it was that you couldn't actually tell what the box really looked like because the picture I saw, it was in pieces.
Yeah.
The minute they cracked open. But she's like, well, it was in like concrete. I was like, yeah, and concrete's porous.
So they've learned a lot of lessons. There's going to be another time capsule put in the ground.
Somebody is feverishly
couple of
figuring out
weeks.
how to seal it up right now, I bet.
And I think that we've started to see people using waterproof tubes and waterproof cases for items that are going to go into the new time capsule.
If you're a local business, I think that you can sponsor one of the waterproof tubes and have your logo put on the top of it.
When I picture a time capsule, I don't know about anybody else, but I picture like a metal or plastic like container. I don't picture like a wooden, like a casket, like essentially like a balsa wood
like
casket thrown in a funeral vault. I picture like a metal canister that you open up and it's got stuff in it. So
I think of a treasure chest.
So I think that's what they did.
Yeah, I think it's about what they
it was
had,
a treasure chest. So it also probably ruins any dreams of finding buried treasure, Dakota. Although buried treasure generally isn't paper.
Correct.
And that's what didn't do so well. So
the money
all of
was a little bit different.
The notes, the cards, the photographs, some of those didn't do that great. There's a handful of them that did, that have come out, and the
I feel
Historical
bad
Society is
for all
cataloging
the
it.
third graders in 1972 that they took a field trip that day out of school, and they were like, "We're gonna have you put a letter to your future self in the time capsule." And they're like, "Wow, this is cool." And then they open it up, and they're like, "Well,
It's mulch.
So, friend of the show, Tom Saunders, he said he wrote a letter to himself, actually to his family, because all the politicians gave speeches, and Tom said, I had no idea that I would actually still be alive in 2022, so he wrote it to the family of Tom Saunders of Louisville, Indiana, because he had no expectations of being there.
that is something I would do."
He was 22. Like,
I could never live 50 more years.
Exactly what I would do. I'd be like, "I'm not going to be 72."
So Tom, they get ready to open it, and Tom's
not only is Tom still alive, Tom's still in office.
Yes.
Like, he hadn't even started, but he's still.
Tom's still healthy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's just retiring from being in politics. Like, still seated in office and has been for most of the time since that time capsule's been in the ground.
In 1972, he thought he would already be dead for 30, 35 years at this point, and they barely remembered him. So he's like, "Yeah, there should be this letter in here
He's like,
addressed to my
"Hopefully
family,
I have family."
and some coins." And so what did come through, and we've seen some photos of it, there were a bunch of bicentennial coins that got buried, some specialty spoons, some items like basically the more durable items. So if you think of an archaeological dig, the pottery and that kind of stuff is what they always dig up, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happened here. So if you want to leave yourself a note in this one, Dakota, I would say chisel it into some sort of a stone and then have that thrown in there.
I have a recording of the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast going in it.
So we've been talking about that for months, and at this point, I'm somewhat well. It's not that. I'm somewhat concerned about the durability of whatever the hell we put it in. It needs to go in the vessel of vessels to survive.
I'm thinking one of those. I have one, Aaron Dickin. If Aaron is listening to this,
He's in the chat.
okay, Aaron, please reach out to me. I have a phone case made for kayaking that could probably work pretty well.
Oh, good.
We'll put it in a
there's nothing better than a used kayaking thing to put in there.
Pelican case.
Well,
I think we need that, and I think everybody needs to go get all those little silica packets that come in your stuff to keep, and we just
Yeah.
pack
Just
it with
save all of
those
them.
just to absorb the moisture.
Yeah. We can
Just
put it in a Ziploc
cases of
bag
damp
for extra
rib.
measure.
Yeah.
Ziploc bags are around for like 1,000 years before they decompose. So
Yeah,
there's probably enough microplastic in the dirt now that it's really a non-issue.
it was. I mean, that was a bit of a because they put a lot of effort into they uncovered it on Friday. Aaron was super nice and was Facebook living that, and they had it so that way they knew where it was because they weren't exactly sure where it was. And then they started back on it at noon. And all the festivities. There was a pretty big crowd down there. They had a Broad Street cruise going.
There was a phenomenal crowd.
Yeah.
Everybody's somewhat disappointed, but I think it's still great. It showed up how many people cared, how many people were out there was phenomenal. They asked for a raise of hands of how many people were there when it was buried, and there were hundreds of people there, and I'd say a third of the crowd was there 50 years ago, which is awesome. And some stuff made it through, and you've learned lessons. Just like in Patreon, we're going to learn from that one. Is basically, sometimes it doesn't always work out perfect.
Right. But make a note.
Yeah.
Were you there with your spiral notebook?
I mean, here's the one thing Aaron points out: there's no notes whatsoever to go off of. I suppose, in how you deal with it. But I did the torch run, and I was like, I could have come up with some suggestions on how to make that work better. But how much of that do you think is going to be relevant the next time? Because the next time's in 50 years. How many people are planning anything 50 years in advance? And who knows, whatever we do now when they bury that one, in 50 years they could be laughing at us, being like, why would they do this? And it's just well, that's a lot of time. I mean, 50 years, 3 years after the first guy walked on the moon.
Devon will be 70.
Yep. If you talk
I'll be 89.
If you talk crap about it, I'll punch you in the mouth. I'll be 76 years old, and I'll be at that age where I just don't care anymore.
I'll be 89. I told my sons were looking down the hole. They thought that was the best thing, was just looking at this big hole in front of the courthouse. And I'm like, yeah, when they open this back up, you'll be 59 and your brother will be, and I'll be 89. And my oldest was like, you're going to be around then? I'm like, I don't know. Let's hope. Like, just be optimistic.
Dakota is going to be Jack LaLanne, which again is one that only Zach is going to know who the hell Jack LaLanne is.
Barely.
But you gentlemen can both Google him. And,
I'm gonna have to.
But Dakota's going to be the Jack LaLanne of Newcastle in 2072.
I don't know who that is.
Where the hell's your Google machine?
Okay.
All right, the chat cares. Zach, you ran. You did your part. You carried the torch.
Yeah.
Was it spectacular? Did you feel like the weight of the county was on you?
At first, it was incredibly embarrassing because I picked it up in Grant City, which is which is a blink of a little town. Like, it's 4 or 5 houses, and one of them was having an open house. And anytime that they went into a town, the police escort went full lights and sirens. And like, I was like,
so you were on display.
Yeah, I was like, this is the most fuss for a run I've ever dealt with in my life. Because the entourage, as my mom was incredibly amused by this, was 3 police cruisers, the bookmobile, and an ambulance.
The bookmobile.
The bookmobile was the mobile support vehicle, and I did not use it, but there were some snacks that got handed to me when I got done, and there was a bathroom on it. I guess there were 2 guys I know. Daniel Chu, who does like home appliance and stuff, he's an incredible runner, and Casey Carmichael, who's also a very good runner. They were like the backup runners, so they rode on this bus. One of them did a 6-hour shift from 6 a.m. to noon, and the other one did a 6-hour shift from noon to 6 p.m.
Wow!
And they said, I was like, and I was giving one of them a hard time trying to figure out where they were because I would need to know where I was going to show up, and it was like, I was like, oh, hey, is there a lot of good books on the bookmobile? And he's like, lots of books, not so much air conditioning. And I was like, you're kidding. I was like, is this like a shore power thing? Whatever. He's like, yeah, they can't run the AC while it's running. It was hot that day. It was not intolerable, but the bookmobile is meant to be parked with the AC running. And he said it got a little bit rough because when I ran, it was probably like 82 or so, but there was not a cloud in the sky. It was just extreme sun. And I ran. I had a shortish leg, I guess, compared to some people. I did pick it up off Carrie Barrett's husband, Dr. Barrett, and I think he'd run about 3 or 3.5. I did 2.6, but with no turns, just in a straight. I just ran 2.6 miles south. That was all I did, and I gave it to somebody to Jeff Watterson, who picked it up and ran it into Nicetown.
I looked him up. I hope I don't like him.
I thought kind of a stud.
Yeah,
He is a stud.
Jack LaLanne was the ultimate. He was. There's a character in Arrested Development that was based on him as well.
Here's a more our generational.
Jack LaLanne was born in like 1914. He's in nobody's generation.
Okay, this tells you.
He's the greatest generation.
Have you ever had somebody whose name you thought you knew their name, and then you saw their name, and I have heard that name, have never heard it assigned to a gender before. So I thought that it was like a Jacqueline Lane. Yeah, so I did not have like
Jacqueline.
Yes, I took the first part of that last name and was attaching it to the next name.
I feel like I'm going to be more like Irving Zisman.
So,
gosh, we're just going like everybody's Google's just going.
Yeah, Irving Zisman is the name of Johnny Knoxville's old man character from Jackass.
Yep.
So Jack LaLanne was. When I was once again, I grew up in the essentially the 1940s, but the 1990s with 3 TV channels, maybe 4 if the wind blew right and we could get channel 29 for Pacers games. Jack LaLanne was selling juicers, so it was basically like the power juicer, whatever the hell it was. So old man, super strong. You would juice celery and carrots and all that shit.
Yeah, exactly. He was juicing.
He was selling the power juicers at 79, 80 years old, doing these stupid human tricks. And you could be just like this too, you little kid.
I like his. He's got these cut off, like leathered jumpsuits that he wears in all of his workout pictures.
Dakota, in the 1990s, fitness was Jack LaLanne and. And Richard, what the hell? Zach, help me out with the name.
Jeremiah.
I was Googling Jack LaLanne juicer, and it's a lot of juicers, but not a lot of Jack LaLanne. But yeah, he wore a blue, it's like a blue exercise.
Yeah, that'll be Dakota here in about 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Except it'll be fueled by chickens and bunnies.
Yeah, I'll be putting the bunnies in my juicer.
I'm trying so hard to work this out.
Well, let's talk. Speaking of animals that we consume, let's talk about let's talk to the angler in the room.
Oh, good use choice. Richard Simmons. There we go. Zach Lee came up with it.
Oh,
the two people were Jack LaLanne and Richard Simmons, which are absolutely completely out of. Do you know who Richard Simmons is?
Oh, I bet he would if he
yes,
saw him.
Yes, I know who Richard Simmons is.
Yes, yeah. It's kind of hard to. He still pops up every once in a while.
Richard Simmons was very popular in the early 2000s.
Yeah, in the 90s and early 2000s, it's the peak of.
He would show up once in a while on Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah,
and
the
just was a monster on Whose Line Is It
and
Anyway?
with Regis Philbin constantly live with Regis.
Just anybody he was on, because if you had a person who could just deadpan and not laugh at whatever he was doing, because he'd be just off the wall, it was pretty funny.
I'm moving us on to fishing.
Okay,
Thank God.
I love this topic.
Better
actually.
angle.
All right. So here we get to the hard-hitting questions. Devon, let's talk a little bit about your past. I mean, I know you're still young, but I'm assuming that you grew up fishing, or is this something that's relatively recent to you?
No, yeah. I grew up fishing. Me and my papa used to go out there, Summit, Prairie Creek, everywhere around. I started fishing young when I was in diapers, and I've loved it ever since. And about freshman year of high school, I started getting serious about it. Fished some high school tournaments. Got to go down with Tanner Sharp to the high school world finals down in Alabama. That was one of a kind.
So, does Blue River Valley have a high school fishing team? Is it a high school age people get to do this? How does this part work?
No, so it was actually Henry County Bassin. We put a team together. Dakota Ball, I don't know if you know who that is. Him and my buddy Damon went and fished the Indiana championship. But yeah, I mean, they have high school fishing teams. We tried, it just didn't work out.
It went about as well as Blue River football.
Yeah. So undefeated, since 1966. But yeah, I mean, it's just been something I grew up with. I love doing it. I kind of got out of it for a little bit. Moved to Florida. It's kind of hard to do it there.
It's a different kind of fishing in Florida.
Yes.
So you got really started in the high school fishing tournaments, but you're not in high school anymore.
No, so now I just got back from Florida about a month ago. I'm fishing Tuesday night derbies, with the old guys, just around. This weekend I have a big tournament coming up at Patoka. It's a 2-day top 8 tournament, and I'm fishing as a co-angler.
So how does this work? You guys are looking for, you've got a certain number of hours and days, and you're trying to find a 5 bass that weigh as much as possible?
Yeah. So you go out there. It's usually 7 to 3, 8 to 3, anywhere. Sometimes they'll do it in the night.
You have to get up god awful early.
Yeah, 3:30, 4:30. You go out there, try to catch some swamp donkeys. Anything above 14 inches in Indiana. I believe Patoka's 15, but
have you fished Patoka before?
I did. I fished this same tournament. Fished it 3 years ago. Something down there.
It's a gigantic lake.
It is. It's a very big lake.
Stuff around here, 800, 900 acres. It's you can kind of figure it out. You go to Patoka and you got to have a plan.
Yeah,
right?
I mean you gotta live close. Really, I mean that's a far drive from here. So luckily, the boater I drew lives 10 minutes from the lake. So hoping that gives me something to work with. So
you just said that you drew a boater.
Yeah. So for some tournaments, there's boaters and co-anglers. So the boater, obviously, it's his boat. And then there's co-anglers. That's the guy in the back of the boat. They basically put all the names in a random hat, draw it. You either get really lucky or, not so much. So
wow, that's interesting. So that really
So you have no relationship with the person you're going to be with, other than maybe talking to him for a couple days ahead of time.
Yep. So
wow,
it's awesome, really, though, because I mean you get to learn a lot,
meet new people. This is Dakota's nightmare. It takes him months to decide he wants to talk to somebody.
Yeah. That kind of keeps things fair, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in a way, some boaters can kind of suck. They don't want you. If you're catching fish and they're not catching fish, it's like, what are you doing on my boat? Like they'll position the boat, to where you can't catch them. But all in all,
to where you're casting deep and they've got the shoreline.
yeah, exactly. So
how much does technology matter in this? Like you've got somebody that you could draw a guy that spent $3,000 on 3D sonar equipment to be able to see in the water, or you could have a guy who has a $74 black and white screen that's this big that can't see anything. Does it matter?
It can. It really depends how much time you spend on the lake. So they come out with the new fish finders that have live scope. You can literally drop your bait down. It's like a video game. They'll come up. You'll see the fish hit the bait.
Wow.
So it puts a twist on things, because right now you have money. You're doing a little bit better. It is, fishing electronics are pretty important in tournaments nowadays. You've got to go out and scan lakes. In the professional tournaments, they have 3 days of practice. They go out, scan a lake, side imaging, down imaging sonar. You just got to find the fish, really. So
if you are in a professional tournament, you go out there, you look, you figure out where your spots are, and then you go. And that's why these guys have motors that are 200-300 horsepower.
Yeah. 250 is actually the max in all bass fishing tournaments. So, but yeah, I mean, they fly. They get it going.
So, what's your boat?
I've got a 96 Ranger, 95 actually, 96. It's one of the two. I don't even remember. I got a 150 Johnson on the back. I've got electronics that are probably older than you. I'm actually about to pick some new ones up. So it doesn't scoot like all the rest of them scoot, but I just love it. I mean, I'm out there on the water doing my thing. That's it. So,
Dakota, how much time have you spent fishing?
Not a whole lot. We did it whenever I was younger, and my grandpa, my grandma's ex-husband had a boat on a canal in their retirement village in Florida. So we did some fishing down there with him, and always would fry it up, but never anything serious. Always just like going out for a few hours for the heck of it.
And that's what a lot of people do. They go out, popper fish, bluegill fish, but
yeah,
I'm all in. If you ain't first, you're last. So,
and of course, so we camp on Brookville, and they yearly stock Brookville with Brookville is like this is the state breeding area for walleye.
Yep.
So you can always, if you know somebody who knows when the stocking time is, you can always do pretty well in walleye at Brookville.
Yeah.
So is it always bass? Is that your go-to?
Yeah, that's my thing. I bass fish. I mean, you can. They have carp tournaments. They have catfish tournaments too. But I can't sit around. I think I got ADHD. I'm always going. You
want to be moving.
I'm zipping. Every which way. I'm not sitting waiting for my bobber to go down.
So are there tournaments where it's like, how many fish can you catch in a certain amount of time?
So actually, they just came out with a new format, Major League Fishing. That's kind of what all the bass. There's three Bassmaster Elite Series, Fishing League Worldwide, it's FLW, and MLF. All the guys from FLW and Bassmaster Elite switched to MLF. They have a 1 pound limit. Like the fish has to be 1 pound, and you can catch as many fish. That's basically the new pro circuit. Is you catch as many fish as you can above 1 pound, and they go out there and get them. It's top of the notch. I mean, Jacob Wheeler, he's from Indiana. He's leading today. Actually, I don't know what the results came back as, but he's one of the most winningest professionals right now.
So what does it take to become a sponsored athlete if you're talking about becoming a professional angler?
Really spending time on the water and obviously posting on social media. You don't even have to post on social media, but obviously that's going to get more brand notice. But tournaments help a lot. I mean, if you're catching fish, people know you're catching fish. You're a good salesman, good spokesman. You can get sponsors through high school. I had a couple little sponsors that helped us out with the high school tournaments. But yeah, I mean, you use their brand. You catch fish with them. You've
got to. If you're the MEPS guy, you can't be caught throwing.
Zoom.
Can't be caught,
yeah. Yeah. So, but I mean, that's everybody does it. Pro anglers, they're gonna They're gonna market their baits. They're gonna shove it in your face. At the end of the day, they're gonna fish with what's catching fish. So yeah, it's a fun game. It gets stressful. A lot of people don't understand what it does mentally to you. A lot of people think you're just going out there kind of fishing, but
it's very competitive.
You get to 12, 1 o'clock on a tournament day that ends at 3, and you got 1, maybe 2 fish in the live well. You're freaking out, and in your mind you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So
I could see that. Yeah.
So what's your go-to? So if you're fishing a lake, you haven't done very much, and obviously you're hoping this time that you're going to have somebody that's experienced on a lake. But are you saying, okay, I'm going to go look at a lake, and I'm going to go fish 15 feet off, look for points, and just you're going soft plastics, you're going top water. What actually catches fish? What do you guys actually do?
Well, like spending time on the water, you got to know where the fish are. You kind of got to know their next move. In those 2-day tournaments, you got to know their next move. So, are they shallow? Are they deep? Right now, the spawns are just getting over, so they're suspending. The big mamas are going out deep, ready to go munch on some shad. In the mornings, if it's a new lake I've never fished, I go up throw top water most of the time. Or I go straight to ledges and points. Down south they fish just straight ledges. Pickwick, Alabama, all those. Those are a lot bigger lakes and deeper lakes. So
when you're saying this is what people may not think about, or what people are realizing. You look at a lake and you think it all looks the same from up above. Mm-hmm. But if you realize that a lot of our lakes are actually old flooded creeks, so there's a dam built and there's natural terrain.
Yeah.
And the fish have something that they're looking to do.
Yeah, so they're wanting to bunch up where other fish are coming to, So like main bank points, they'll be out of a cove, so there's a cove in the back. Those fish go up there and spawn early spring. They're going to come back out on that main bank point. The water's a little bit cooler. It'll go from about 5-10 feet to 20. And those fish just sit there. Anything that comes hopping their way, and a lot of the lakes down south have current flowing through them. These Indiana lakes up here don't really have much, but that's a big thing. In the summer, you're fishing deep. It's the water's baking. At 80, 85 degrees. Those fish don't want to be up there, so that's my thing. I just kind of follow what the fish are doing if I can.
What's the difference between fishing in a river and a lake?
There's not too much of a difference, I don't think. The rivers are smaller. They don't have as much. They're always flowing. You just got to find. Since there's current in the river, they're going to find every current break they can. A tree, a stump, a rock, the creeks that go in the back. But other than that, there's not a whole lot different. I guess I'm just kind of like.
So going out in the middle of a river that's flowing and just casting your line willy-nilly.
Yeah,
not likely to get anything.
Yeah, unless, like I said, like those ledges. If you can find a ledge right out in the middle, that's the thing. Money. That's what it is at this point. Whoever has the best sonar, they're going to go out there and look. This is a 20-foot ledge. You're not going to catch fish on 20-foot ledge. 5-foot ledge, you'll probably catch some fish because there's a current break right there. Those bait fish are going to come over. They're going to come up over the top, eat it. But it's a lot more tough in the river. Rocky Point, anything in the Ohio River, it's tough.
And that's why folks spend the money in the electronics. So people may not realize it, but if you've got a bass boat, you probably have some sort of a GPS system so that you can say, hey, at this exact spot in the lake, this is where the river, this is where the terrain changes. Mm-hmm. So you know that's the spot you want to go.
And especially the lakes down south, you almost need GPS. I'm awful with direction, if I had a tail, I'd probably lose it.
Devon trying to find this studio in the town he grew up in. He was 3 blocks away and called me completely lost.
I put the address in my GPS. You would think I'd know Newcastle better because this is where I'm from. But I'm, over there on the other side of the courthouse, and I'm calling Jeremiah, and I'm like, hey, man, I don't know if I'm just stupid or where I'm at. But, yeah, it took me a minute, a couple of loops around the block, but
as a person who's only 7 years older than you, I can tell you that I definitely feel like I've become way too reliant on GPS.
Absolutely.
Versus whenever I'm with my older friends who didn't start driving with GPS. I'm like, how do you just remember all these street
I can't
names?
make it to Indy. I mean, I can't make it to Indy without a GPS. I've been there a
gotta be
million
kidding
times. I just don't look. I'm sitting there.
Yeah.
I'm just going.
Oh,
Turn left.
I can
and
actually
15 feet.
I can give you a turn by turn just directions to where I go on vacation.
In South
in the
Carolina.
Carolinas.
In North
Yeah.
Carolina.
Oh, North
I
Carolina.
can ramble off every road. I don't know the exit numbers, but I could get you there. I could write it down on a piece of paper right now.
I could. I drove to Defiance, Ohio today, and I could write down every turn.
Yeah. And I don't know roads
insane.
like in Indianapolis, but I know enough about Indianapolis to know how to get out of downtown. Like I know, well, if I'm over here, if I drive this direction, I'll run into. And Indianapolis is great because
This is fun. Zach, how do I get to the IMS Lot 6 from here?
Oh, okay. So you take 70. Well, from here, come out the studio, turn Broad Street to 3, take 3 south to 70, turn west on 70, take 70 all the way into downtown, get on 65 north, and you're going to get on the ramp for 38th Street. And then you get on 38th Street, it dumps you right onto 38th Street. The exit's great. You're going to be in the right 2 lanes on that ramp, though, because the left one will get you back on 65. And then you're going to take 38th Street to Georgetown Road, turn left on Georgetown Road, turn right on 25th Street, and then turn left on either Meyer or McCrae. I can't remember. Meyer Street, I think. And that turns you into Lot 6.
Wow.
That's it?
That's impressive, actually.
It is.
But I mean, that's a drive I do like. Actually, I don't do as much as I used to, but a couple times a year, one time a year, I guess now.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
it.
But yeah, I had an Atlas when I started driving. They didn't have GPSs yet, and like Waze, I love Waze because I try to beat it, which is real hard. Old
Yeah, it's hard to beat Waze.
old GPSs were so easy to beat. It was like, but Waze is hard. I can do it, and I do it on the regular.
I started driving with MapQuest, where I would go in to
Print
the
the direct-
computer, type in where I was going, and print out the directions, and then have the directions sitting in the middle console and try to read them while I was driving. That was
yeah.
it's a little bit before GPS.
Stone tablets, Devon.
Yeah, absolutely.
MapQuest was awful too. Like you look at MapQuest and like look at a map, and you're like, why is it doing this? And it's like, yeah.
Devin, are you? I played golf whenever I was in high school and played a little bit after and did some tournaments. Are you purchasing the ability to participate in the tournaments? Like, do you have to pay to participate?
Yeah. So, there's the small tournaments, the Thursday nighters, Tuesday nighters, like $15-$20. But this weekend's a little bit bigger. It's 100. I don't even remember how much it was to get in, but you pay to play. And it's kind of like golf. It reminds me a lot of golf. But that's the thing with sponsors is those professionals, the high school kids that fish. They get these sponsors, and then the sponsors pay for all their entry fees, staying at hotels down there, houses, things like that.
That's cool.
And so they try to group up too. People try to group up, save money. They have the same sponsors. Stick them in
Does
the house.
a lot of that buy-in, does that go to prize money, or do you get prize money?
That's yes. So again, like the small ones, you might get $200 in the night. Maybe Geist would be a little bit bigger buy-in, but the professional tournaments are 100,000, 50,000, 75,000.
So how many people how many entries are expected or boats are expected for Patoka this weekend?
For
Logistics of
Patoka,
this.
probably. That was a trick question because I didn't look. But it's a pretty
you can
big
make up a
tournament.
number.
It's
We're
probably
talking 50 boats, 100
anywhere
boats?
from 50 to 100.
So how
not
the hell
looking doesn't make it a trick question.
how do they set,
I actually just didn't know the answer.
how do they you get 100 people trying to launch a boat, and I assume maybe you can launch 3 boats at a time. Mm-hmm. Would they just have everybody honor system just go out there and sit? What do they do with all of these boats?
Yep, we're all just sitting out there. For the high school world finals, we had 384 boats that we had to fit into one little boat ramp. I don't know how it happened, but those bigger tournaments, they go out in flights. Okay, so you're first, if you're in the first flight the first day, the second day you're going to be in the very last flight. So call your name, your boat number, whatever.
Is there somebody real judgy about the boat launching?
No. I mean, because a lot of people can't back up boats.
Even tournament anglers are struggling.
Yeah. I mean,
Because this is going to be the most joyous part of Zach's adventure here tonight is hearing about how people can't back up boats.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Because he's a professional camper. Zach and I go camping all the time.
First of all, I'm going to say two things. One, boats look way harder to back up.
They're smaller, you
They're
can't
smaller.
see.
And
they disappear behind you when you've got no boat on and you're trying to put an empty trailer down.
Because I've tried to back Jeremiah's trailer in before, but one of my favorite follows on Instagram is called the Qualified Captain. Mm-hmm. And the Qualified Captain makes me feel better about myself every day because I can understand the messing the trailering part up, but the number of pictures that guy posts, or female, I'm not sure who runs the feed, of trucks in water.
Oh, yeah.
Completely gone.
I've never seen that.
And I mean, like, this week there was a Porsche Cayenne completely submerged. Like I
hope they were backing in a $300 shit box of an aluminum boat.
Oh my gosh, that would be the best. And then there's just a bunch of other stuff just about random boats and just people poorly operating them. And I remember there was a pretty cool video of a guy who had like the rope he's going to tie the boat off on hanging off of the dock. Or off the side of the boat
with a stick.
With a stick. And he backs the boat in, drops it. The boat just slides back. It catches the cleat on the dock and just ties the boat off. I'm like, that guy is a master. And I would love to sit back and watch that guy. But then you see the other people that are just like absolutely cannot. And I like said, the side thing, I get that. Those trailers have to be a lot worse. I don't understand how you lose an entire truck in the water.
My dad's motto has always been, if you get wet launching your boat, you do earn it wrong.
So co-host Chase Payton is my fishing partner, and unfortunately he's I'm going to say this badly. I get myself in trouble constantly on the show, Devon. Unfortunately, he's getting married in a couple of months, and we haven't gone fishing yet this year at all.
We haven't even had a bachelor party.
We're efforting that. We're going to have a great time.
That's what I'm scared about this weekend. My boater just had a kid. He's not spending time out on the water. I need that time out on the water. All right.
So, but what happens is I own the boat. Chase is my backup person. He does the launching for me, and I can do it all solo. But it's a hell of a lot easier if you have somebody to go get the boat and back it in for you. But even Chase, a guy, my angler, he's been doing this for 15 years or so. That truck, you back up, and the empty trailer disappears in front of you. It happens all the time.
Yep.
Happens all the time. So it's just occurred to me, Dakota, how much he has in similarities with Chase Payton. Angler, went to Florida, came back, the whole thing. It's identical.
It is true.
Were you nearly a college athlete? Because Chase was a college baseball player for like 2 semesters.
No. I mean, I wanted to go and I wanted to fish somewhere. Maybe probably could have done it for cross country, but got weak knees, can't do it. Stopped that, Felt like
is that just something people make up because they didn't want to do the math of school? What weak knees for cross country? Is that
really
real?
Have like knee issues from?
No, yeah. Like my knees are so bad. I mean, that's genuinely why I stopped.
Have you ever heard of a knees over toes guy?
No.
You need to look up knees over toes guy on Instagram. He's legit. Help me. I have no knee discomfort whenever I do heavy squats now. I swear. I promise.
Well, I need to figure it out.
For real. That's not a joke. That is free advice to everyone.
Dakota will personal train you, but you have to do it between the hours of 3:30 a.m. and 4 a.m. or he's busy.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
Let's get it.
4:30 a.m. to about 6:40.
Where do you work out at?
Anytime Fitness. You?
Same.
Wow.
Wait, when is the last time you saw 5 a.m.?
Last time I saw 5 a.m. was
he
last
does
Sunday.
fishing tournaments. He's up early. He just said he's up sometimes 3:30 to 4 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, this weekend, it's gonna be rough. But I run on energy drinks. It's awful for me, but hey,
you're 20. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
The sugar-free energy drinks.
Actually, yes, Monster, the white monsters.
You ever had Discipline Go?
No,
it's good stuff.
It looks like there's 91 boats entered this weekend.
Oh wow, that was impressive. You found
Is
it.
this the Indiana Bass Nation State Finals?
Oh yeah. Yep.
See, Zach is the best unpaid producer
That
you
is
could possibly
awesome.
find.
That was awesome.
And, I mean, and there's some stuff on here I have no idea what it means. What's an Alabama rig?
an Alabama rig.
that's
I
the-
should have brought one. With
Oh,
me.
Because they're allowed. Alabama rigs are allowed.
Carolina-
Does it say with 3 hooks? Does it say with
Carolina,
3 hooks?
Alabama. What's
It just says Alabama rigs. One thing though that was interesting, you talked about people going out. It said that there's off limits from Monday, June 6th until the first day. So I'm assuming that means that none of the competitors are allowed on the lake this week.
Yes.
Until
So
it
a week
starts?
before the tournament, or whatever they say before the tournament, you cannot practice on the lake.
Nice.
Which is good because
It's great for you because you can't get there because it's 3 hours away anyway.
You might think you have something figured out this last weekend, but there's a good chance those fish are not going to be there this weekend.
Especially with the Indiana weather. I'm assuming the weather, when you talk about water temp, plays a big part, that temperature plays a big part, and like you can't do anything with the Indiana weather in terms of predictability this
it's been extremely tough. I came back from Florida thinking, I'm coming out here and I'm catching fish. That's what I do. And I get here and I'm not really catching a whole lot of fish this year.
So how serious are folks? If there's this big tournament this weekend, could somebody fish in a significant Indiana tournament every weekend?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know a lot of people that do that. Kevin Allen, the guy I'm going down with, he's a great buddy. He fishes. I'm probably it's usually Saturday and Sunday of every single weekend. Since I've been in Florida, I haven't been able to enter into a trail. I'm just kind of trying to get back into it. But next year, I'm looking to fish at least 2 tournaments every weekend.
I know Summit Lake had one of the first weekends we were camping out there this year, Zach. I woke up and I had 8 fishermen around my camper. At 7:30 in the morning, my nice private quiet campsite.
Yeah.
They were all around me, and I think that tournament happens at Summit Lake about 5 times a year. So I assume that
USA Bassin.
Yeah.
Yep. It's hey, the campground holds fish. Let me tell you.
So one last question to do with fishing, and do you ever get to keep the fish that you catch during these tournaments, or is that
no?
actually
Dakota's back to Patreon again, here, everybody.
It's actually completely release, catch and release. People do obviously catch and eat fish. In the tournaments, you can't do it, and I don't do it anyways, unless I'm fishing for bluegill, crappie, catfish, walleye.
Do they have to be alive? Generally speaking,
Yes.
you have to be alive at the end.
They
of
have
it
to
as
be
well.
alive. They can't be shorter than the limit.
A slot limit of sorts.
Either a dead fish. It just depends. It varies from tournament to tournament. Dead fish or short fish is either you can't weigh it or it's they deduct a pound. So.
Okay.
But they're like there's a DNR. There's a DNR map, or not a map, a calendar, and there's 3 to 4 tournaments per weekend in the state park system.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
To keep track of, and some of them, some of it's 4 of them in a weekend in different lakes. So
Yeah, Brookville, Morris, Geist, Monroe, Summit.
Yeah, those are the big ones. So I'll tell you what. So we talk about Henry County all the time on this show and the gem that Summit Lake is, but it draws people in for a ridiculous number of reasons. And the fishing tournaments are a huge part of that as well.
Yep.
And you go out there and it's not just 30 and 33 license plates. There are people that come from Indianapolis and points way beyond to come fish here.
Yep.
I went to school with a guy whose dad all the time was headed to Georgia for fishing. He'd drop his son off on a Friday for soccer practice with a boat hooked up. I'm like, where's your dad going? Going to Georgia. And all the a couple times a year. So people travel for that kind of stuff.
How long until you get your boat wrapped?
Maybe if TikTok and YouTube start popping off here lately, that'll be how long.
What sponsor are you looking for?
Devon Guffey's TikTok page. Just wrap it with that.
Yeah,
That's the way to do it.
I can't put TikTok on the boat. I can't. I fish around too many old gues.
They won't even know what the hell it is. It'll be great.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd like to get sponsored by Mountain Dew or
You
Dr.
Chinese,
Pepper.
son?
Yeah. Is that stuff that Trump was talking about? You guys don't want no more. I don't support no TikTok. I actually
Next thing
just
you know,
bark for the girls.
The next thing you know, they're going to sink your boat.
Yeah. Yep.
It'll be an attack.
Yep.
All right. So you're in this tournament. If people want to follow along with the fishing and how you do, how do people hit you up?
I mean, go to my Facebook or Instagram. I'll probably post updates, every day. My Instagram's _Devon Guffey, and my Facebook's.
Was there already
Devon
another
Guffey.
Devon Guffey? How the hell do you end up with underscore to start? Is this what the kids do?
No, I mean, I tried to put Devon Guffey. It just didn't work. It was Devon Guffey 13 for the longest time. Now it's _Devon Guffey. Yeah, that's like all my social media. So if you'll hit me with a follow on TikTok, I'll start posting.
All of us old millennials took all the names the first time, even though none of them are using it.
Yeah.
So this is hilarious. I got Jeremiah Morrill at gmail.com, and another Jeremiah Morrill came along like 10 years later, absolutely pissed at me
It's your name.
because I had the name. I'm like, I don't know, dude. I was born first. Suck it. I don't know what to tell you.
It's this random thing. It's like, oh yeah, like we were just here first. That's how we get stuff.
I don't know how to help you.
Like,
sorry, buddy.
when we signed up for Gmail, I think it was like 2 gigabytes or something like that of free storage. Now it's 15.
That's the crazy thing about Instagram is people pay ridiculous amounts of money to have the username. Like the famous people that have the blue checks, they want just their first name. Well, somebody's already made that, a long time ago. So they're paying $100,000 to go get their username changed, and it's like, well, I wish I would have had one of those originals.
Yeah, it's insane.
Sucks to be you.
Yeah.
Yeah, our boy Joey Molinaro. I think he just goes by Joey, but I don't think he's got just at Joey. I think he's Joey Molinaro on all the socials.
Yeah.
Just thank God for him. He's got a last name that's not Joey Smith, or he would have been shed of luck. All right, so I was going to go with I had all kinds of other stuff planned for this week. I was going to talk about sports. We were going to talk about an NFL story. We were going to talk about
the
a
whole
golf
time
thing.
that you guys were sharing articles about, like, I kept seeing screenshots from articles about Watson sexual assault, and I'm like, dang, Bubba Watson's really no idea.
Dakota has no clue when it comes to sports.
I don't follow
whatsoever.
any of it.
Not his thing. So I was going to go down this path, and then there was the Rush County tornado
Of 2022.
of 2022, and that changed the week. So my family is incredibly lucky and incredibly unlucky at the same time. Everybody's healthy, everybody's okay, everybody's good. But yesterday, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Springs thunderstorm pops up, comes about. Posey Township, Rush County, a tornado forms and drops out of the sky and literally drops on my parents' house.
What's insane is that you're texting me whenever this happens, and I live outside of Spiceland. I'm not far from Dunreath, not far from 40. So not that far from your parents' house.
Yeah, maybe 20 minutes away, 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, about 15 minutes away, probably, just straight down 3. And you're texting me, a tornado just hit my parents' house. I'm like, it's sunny at my house.
Yeah.
That's how small the cell was
Yeah.
that hit their home.
It was so the tornado went from my parents' house directly northeast, and my sister lives like about 1.25 miles away from them, and then just beyond them, same path, there's the fire department and then the elementary school. Tornado hits my parents' house, takes the roof off, knocks off the front porch, takes down an incredible number of trees, takes my parents' 25-foot travel trailer, barrel rolls at about 30 feet, tree drops on top of it, it's destroyed. Mom and my sister were in the house, and they were in the interior bathroom and fine. A couple windows blew in on the house, but the house itself did great. It damaged 4 houses around their house and 3 others. My sister's house would have literally been next in the path. The tornado lifted up, completely skipped her property.
Wow.
Dropped back down on the ground, took the roof off the
Fire department.
and then it continued on to the elementary school.
Yeah.
So it's incredible.
And, I mean, that obviously speaks to your mom's good sense. It sounds like they don't have a basement on their house.
No, it's a crawl space.
So she knew to get into a central location inside of the house that's away from windows, and they were good to go.
And not stand on the porch like every Midwestern dad.
Right.
So the porch was gone.
Yeah.
It legitimately, if you follow me or whatever on Facebook, you can see I've been posting. I went down right after it happened. I made record time from Muncie. So this is the real low key. My dad calls me that the tornado hit like at 4:07. My dad calls me at 4:15. He's like, "Hey son, might need you to come down to Rush County tonight, help clean up some stuff." I'm like, "What? Literally, it's happened. He's not even home yet." He's like, "Oh, a tornado hit the house, and I think the porch is gone." And I'm like, and there's a bunch of trees down, like totally low, like calm, whatever. And I'm like, everybody's okay, like processing this. So I immediately left work, and I was down there within probably 75 minutes of it happening, and it's every bit of an hour drive to get there for me. And there were already 20 people there.
You said, so you were messaging me, and I just got home from work, and I'm texting you. I sit down on the couch and like going to take my work boots off, and you're like, if you're close, come down. And you said that because you're like, I'm 40 minutes away. There's a sense of urgency in your messages.
Yeah.
So you said that. I stopped taking my boots off. I was like, wait, is there's something like serious? Because I'm like, didn't really know what was going on. So I asked I was like, are they stuck somewhere?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if they're stuck, then I'm, hopping in my work truck and speeding down there with a bunch of tools.
Yeah.
Working.
It was wild. So my dad literally he retired from Allison Transmission 2 weeks ago. He got a job working for Tri-County Power Tools, power equipment, based in Milroy. All of their people showed up, and they sell generators, saws, all of this equipment all of a sudden just shows up. Their whole team is there.
Perfect timing.
Every farmer in the community shows up. The sheriff, the Rush County Sheriff's deputies, the REMC people were there. The house did great. Like they literally had power back on in 3 hours, and it had taken down lines outside. And they're like, I turned the breakers off to the house, and I'm like, we'll see what happens. Turn it back on, everything came back. So I was like, it's gonna be unlivable if you can't get water, right? You're on well water. You can't stay there without water. Power came back on, everything was okay. Other than you literally were in their attic, and the sheeting was gone.
Yeah, I saw that picture you posted from inside the attic, looking out into the backyard.
Yeah,
it's insane. But what you were just saying, there's 20 people already there. I thought would be a good thing to mention on the show because we talk a lot about community involvement, trying to do stuff to help your community out. I think it's important. Your parents definitely exemplify that. They're super involved in Rush County. I mean, your dad being on the Sheriff Merit Board, your mom, your mom just recently, she's right now, like, cleaning up headstones and things.
Yep. She runs Moral Monuments and does a lot of work in Henry County and Rush County, cleaning up headstones. She managed the Rushville Cemetery for a number of years.
So we're looking at the Facebook posts from your parents and you about the damage that happened to their house, and your mom's like, just wanted to say thank you to everybody, something that you would expect, and then you see what she's like posting.
Yeah.
She's tagging like fire department,
the list of people that showed up
department,
instantly,
and it's not just people, but it's like
we got there and literally so Posey Township Fire Department lost their roof, but that was the command center. So, and there were best I can tell 4 houses were damaged. Like it was very rural area, a lot of cornfields, a lot of bean fields, and they were just right place, wrong time, whatever. But they set up a command center at the Township Fire Department without a roof. I drove by that place, and the parking lot was full, and they were all just rolling out to take care of people.
Right.
And they were going road by road, and you would see the Manila Fire Department from Rush County. You'd see the Morristown Fire Department rolling by. You saw all of these different townships that were covering mutual aid. It was incredible. All volunteers just showing up.
So, yeah, I thought, this is a pretty good, if you look at it, if you're involved in your community and you're forging relationships with, people in your community, like we've talked about a lot in the past, then not only are you helping the place that you live, which is important, it's not only important for you, but it's important for the children that you may have and the children that they have, but it could also come in really handy whenever something unexpected and terrible happens to you and your property, where you all of a sudden have a team of people who are on your side and willing to help.
Instantaneous. Pizza showed up. My sister's in-laws were there. Her entire extended family. It was just phenomenal. The amount of people that showed up. The equipment. There were 4 different pieces of heavy equipment there within 2 hours. Just boom, out of nowhere. Tractors, skid steers, some giant tree moving device that I'd never seen. They called it a gravel something. But it was just the jaws of whatever that would grab tree trunks that were cut up and pile them up.
Your wife
Insane.
sent a picture that she was trying to keep cows in the field.
So yeah, this is my the hobby farming deal. My sister kept a couple of cows at their house. My parents have like 7 acres, and maybe 4 of it is high tensile fence. Well, they lost some gigantic trees, so there were a couple of cows that were pastured there, and there was an electric fence. That trees and electric fence, it's shorted out. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
So the cows are going to figure it out pretty damn quick. So that was actually probably the most urgent thing we had to do, and thankfully, there were 20 people that showed up that had a clue about animals and understood where to stand, where not to stand to move cows, because it's sadly, I've chased a lot of cows in my life, and you can't just walk up to a cow and walk them onto a trailer. You've got to be very particular about how you move them, not riling them up, and you've got to back your trailer up. And
they're skittish animals.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
He actually learned that from the farmer's book that he whipped out to save his goat. He actually didn't.
If you go to Patreon, you get the full story. Once again, you learn a lot of lessons about what not to do along the way. But yeah, the cows got safely relocated and they didn't get hurt. But yeah, crazy times. You never know. Perfectly sunny, happy day. I actually I was like, man, we got a really quiet spring. Maybe I caused this, knocking on wood. I was like, I haven't heard a damn tornado. We haven't had these big pop-up afternoon storms, none of that stuff. It's been nice and calm.
A weird day. I went to the grocery store, and my brother's like, oh, watch out, there might be a storm hitting. And I checked the radar. I'm like, no, it just went north. I could hear it. I could see it. The whole time I drove to Kroger, which is a mile and a half, it was raining but sunny, which is my favorite weather for Midwest. Something's messed up. And then when I walk out of Kroger, the pavement's dry. I was in Kroger for 5 minutes because I grabbed 2 things. Walk out, the pavement's dry except for spots where there were like deeper puddles where like the pavement had divots in it. And by the time I got home, though, going home, the road at home was completely soaked. It was just starting to dry a little bit, even though the sun was out in both places. So it was a thing where in the span of a mile and a half, and that's with a very square direction, like about a half mile up the hill, or about 3/4 of a mile up the hill and 3/4 of a mile south. You could tell the rain had been different even in that span of time. So
right, I had talked to my wife. I was like, well, it's a good thing we got the rain. We kind of needed it because whenever I was at work, I got caught in an absolute downpour. And she's like, it didn't really rain. I was like, huh? What? It definitely rained. Yeah, it was super weird day. But like Jeremiah said, it has been a pretty, relatively calm spring. We didn't really have that much. But now we're getting into the summer months, and it's going to be drought weather.
Yeah, I had some friends that were up in Muncie, and they spent about 15 minutes in their basement because the storm came through, blew it through there.
Yeah, it got pretty nasty in Muncie.
So they're talking about like 60 to 80 mile an hour wind. I know at one point during the day, Jeremiah shared a storm cell that was going through and was about to hit Versailles State Park, and that one I think they were talking about potentially golf ball size hail, and you're just like, yikes.
Cadiz got hit pretty hard as well.
You think, F1 tornado, not that big of a deal. Literally took a 4,500-pound camper and moved it 30 feet, flipped it upside down, and just total Talladega barrel roll.
The craziest thing about tornadoes is the finite point of destruction that they have. Like you think about you have like neighbors, and then the story that's always been, I think it's like, I don't know if it's urban legend or whatever, but a storm that came through Newcastle a long time ago, and it took a house, but they had a shelf on the back porch that was against the wall of the house that had preserves on it, and the preserves were fine, but the house was missing, like was gone.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And so I think so you hear, but that's how, like they literally have to get a helicopter or a drone up in the air, and they can just follow exactly where it went because there'll just be this path of
you can see exactly
just follow
where
exactly, and then you can see where they pick up, and then they'll skip a neighborhood or skip a house. Thankfully, it skipped your family, so it didn't take out. I mean, that would be horrible luck if it hit both of your families. Like, oh yeah, it only hit 5 houses. 40% of them was one family, but yeah, they can pick up and just go right over it and then drop back down a few minutes later. They're real unpredictable.
A couple other things we noticed real quick before we wrap up. Everybody grass on the ground was laying in the same direction. Like, Dad, how'd you get this? You got a real lawn care manicure stuff to do this. There were corn stalks everywhere. You know, this came from cornfields, you know, hundreds of feet away or whatever, just strewn all over the place. Just absolutely wild. So, Dakota, you deal with the severe weather in the day job. What if something happens? What do people need to know on that side? Electric safety.
If you see a down power line, do not move. That's it.
Don't move at all. You're safe where you are. Don't move.
If you absolutely have to move, do not take steps. Instead, place your feet together and jump in that direction, moving your feet at the same time. If you take a step, and the ground is energized, you are creating a difference of potential between your two legs, and difference of potential.
It's going to go from one side to the other.
Right. It's going to travel through your body. If you jump up and down, but if you are not a very agile person, just stay where you are.
It's a good way to break a hip.
Yeah. If you jump and you fall backwards on your butt, then guess what? Your feet and your butt make contact. Then you might as well have just taken a step. So, assume all down power lines are energized.
So if something, say a storm hits your house, should you turn the breakers off at the house? What kind of stuff should you do there, or does it not matter?
At that point, I don't think it really matters. You're not going to get anything inside of your home.
You've either got it or you don't.
And unless you have like a generator or something that automatically kicks on, then you have no way of like backfeeding towards the line to create a fire hazard. So, yeah.
Good to go.
You're all right.
All right. Well, yep. Crazy time, but thankful. Number one, nobody was hurt, and we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Now the cleanup begins.
I should clarify. It's not a bad idea to turn off the breakers to your house for the sake of the grid, because there's such a thing called cold load. Whenever I'm the guy that goes out and I flip the breaker back on and I pick up everything all at once, and that's every air conditioning.
They all try to hit at the same time.
Going in at the same time. Sometimes if it's already a circuit in like a area that's experienced a lot of growth, like Carmel or Noblesville, other areas, then you can already be pretty close to that line, and that cold load can kind of take it over. So, yeah, power companies have always advised people, like, in the event of a power outage, turn off breakers to your high load appliances. So,
well, very good.
I always tell the story of, real quick, this is kind of funny. It was around Christmas time, and I was called to Arcadia. And
ooh, fancy Hamilton County.
Yeah, I had never been there before, and there was a really, really bad storm that winter, and I drove around all kinds of places, and I finally get to the substation that I was going to, and I'm there. It just so happened that one sub was on a mobile substation, so there's one breaker for all of the area. There's like 5 different circuits. They're all in one. And I'm standing there, and I get instruction.
Just one of those 20-amp deals.
Yeah, I know. I'm standing there, and I get instruction, okay, you can go ahead and close the breaker. And I click it, and then all of a sudden, there's hundreds of Christmas lights from houses all around me.
You had a Clark Griswold moment.
And I had no idea that there were houses anywhere around me. I thought it was in the middle of nowhere.
The start and finish of the night with Clark Griswold.
Oh, yeah, he had a Clark Griswold moment. Like, literally, how hilarious that would have been to have known about that and had a drone in the air. Just recording it. Just like, this is the power.
This is how I know we've fully gotten Zach on board with content creation. Dakota's trying to restore power for everybody, and Zach's like, I want the shot. This is going to win.
Get the drone shot.
Get the drone out, fly it, and then we can do it.
Well, if you've ever, the scene in Christmas Vacation where he turns the lights on and it dims all the other lights, like the whole area just goes dead. And then they come back on, and it's good. And it's saying that a guy essentially flipped a switch. Like you're the guy that got to flip a switch and turn on.
Yeah, I'm the guy that flips the switch. Yeah, you want to talk about a cold load scenario? I've never seen loading like that in my entire life. I was so bad that I called. I was concerned. This doesn't look normal. They're like, it's normal for that area. I was like, okay, well, I'm used to Newcastle, not Arcadia.
Yeah.
This is where we start to wrap up and get to final thoughts. Devin, is the flip the switch thing still happening on the social medias? The flip the switch challenge? That was the thing 2 years ago.
What is that?
I just flipped a switch.
Yeah.
Flip.
Nobody does that now.
No, I mean, every once in a blue moon. It's social media's trends now.
It's okay. You don't have to be nice to him.
If somebody does something, that's what everybody else is doing.
Well, when did we have Liam Pinheiro on the show? 2 years ago? That was when Liam was on. That was one of his big viral videos was his version of that. That's why I'm remembering that.
Okay.
Yeah, no. That's
There's always a reference. Sometimes it might be from something from the 80s, the 70s, 2000s.
Liam isn't even like doing content creation now. He's like flipping houses.
Sometimes he will. He still tries to be funny on the internet, but he's pivoted. Like Devon.
Yeah,
Devon's changed a couple of times.
Estate. He's like Gary Vee now.
His plan.
Gary Vee. I love Gary Vee, dude. I absolutely love Gary Vee.
Your plan is just to be an influencer somehow at this point. It's just blank sheet of paper. Decide what's going to happen.
Fishing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do fishing. I'd like to do vlogging. I mean, something. I don't want to work a 9 to 5. I mean, I don't want to be stuck digging holes in the ground. So we'll see.
Nothing wrong with digging holes. Someone's got to do it.
Dude, I think vlogging is perfect for you.
Yeah.
It's something different every day.
Well, yeah, my life's hectic. It's crazy. It's fun.
We have another Boss Hog alum is the most unexpected vlogger, daily vlogger, 3 times a week vlogger now. But Mark Brim is our he's gone back to 3 times a week now. He worked at Earlham College. And if you didn't know him, he would think he's 63 years old, drives a truck from before you were born and almost from when I was born. He gave up his college video department job to move to South Dakota, and he's a farmer. So he has started the Clueless Farmer YouTube page.
Really?
And it's a daily vlog of him he's been out there a year. It's a 1-year anniversary, and it's spectacular. I think it is Zach's favorite channel on YouTube.
I'm going to have to check it out.
I got behind on it during the month of May, but it's got, he's hilarious. And we're the same age. I'm the same age as Mark Brim, and as much issue as the guy who sat in the seat before me gave me about my age. I was shocked to find out that we were the same age because he's a grumpy old man in a 39-year-old body, and it's hilarious.
Mark is without a shadow of the doubt the funniest guest that we've ever had on the show.
Unintentionally funny.
Unintentionally. If he knew that he was being funny, then he could have a sitcom.
Oh yeah, he is a character, like a literal character. Like you couldn't have come up with somebody like him out of your brain. Yeah. He's an organic thing. Yeah. It's a funny channel though.
Devon, for us and our audience, vlog this weekend.
Okay.
Put it out there on the YouTube.
Okay.
We'll get it started. We'll help you promote it. You get it done. We'll help promote it. We'll get I swear to God, Christy Avery will buy a T-shirt tomorrow if you have a T-shirt.
Right on.
One of the most awesome supporters we've ever had.
I said she was the most generous.
She is. She'll do it. She'll do it tomorrow. She rescued. I know we're trying to wrap up. I will save this for the end.
Jeremiah, I have to pee so bad.
You go do it if you need to. I'm going to let Devon do. I bolted and did it.
Let's go. Let's keep it going.
Final thoughts, Devon. Anything we need to clean up? Any other stories we forgot? If you want to drag them out 10, 15 minutes, it's totally fine. I've got a bottle here for Dakota.
yeah, go under. No, a big thing I picked up on when you were talking about the tornado. You said a lot about your parents, giving out to the community all the time, and how thankful they were for them. I've been reading a book. It's something, I don't remember the name now. It's kind of about the law of attraction, love, health, and money, and that's just kind of what it is. You put good out in the world, and you get good back, especially in the times that you need it the most. So, that kind of hit home. I've been reading about that, so that kind of, gave me a big bump.
You reap what you sow, right?
That's right.
All right. So if people want to follow you, _ Devon Guffey on all the socials.
Yep.
That's the official answer. Zachary, any final thoughts? And you can make fun of Galt now if you want to.
No, I'll let you talk about Galt. That kind of made my man. Yeah, there's a private chat that is hilarious as how mean people could be, and Chris Galt is the biggest bullseye in that chat. I was going to thank all for the Centennial stuff that happened. Thanks to Nate Lamar for letting me participate in the torch run. I got like congratulations from some people for participating, but I'm just like, hey, it's like somebody said run. That's what I do. So that was a cool thing to participate in. The torch wasn't too heavy, and it was pressure not to drop it when it was hot and I'm sweaty because it was the actual state centennial bicentennial torch from a couple of years ago. And thanks to all the people like Aaron Dickin and who's done some stuff, and obviously Carrie Barrett and those people, because that's like I said, it was cool to see all those people downtown. I didn't get to do too much of the Broad Street cruise because I had my kids with me and they were not being nice.
Poor Zach had to babysit.
I had to babysit and then bail because I wouldn't even sit still. I was like, just sit there in the shade and I'm going to walk around. He wouldn't let me do that. So, but they still got some more stuff coming on that. So keep an eye on the calendars or online, and they've got the basketball knockout competition coming up. We're going to go for a world record in 2 weeks or so. So keep an eye on that for that stuff. But thanks for the stuff that they've done already and for letting me participate in part of it.
D-squared.
I don't really have anything. Just want to say that I'm glad everything was fine with your parents. You had me worried there.
We were all worried, dude.
You had me really worried. But anyway, glad everything's all right with them.
It was a full Twister story. They were cows. The whole thing.
Yeah. None of them went for a ride.
As far as we know.
I was driving home from work, so he's like, "Oh, everybody's okay." I'm like, "That's good." And then like the next day, I saw a picture and I saw their dog Newt, who is a majestic beast of an animal, and I was like, "Oh, good. Newt's cool too. Newt's patrolling the area, keeping an eye on things." So I was like, "Well, I'm glad he's good too," because you never know. Stuff like that's just chaos. When like
Newt got mentioned on the Fox 59 News.
Newt's a cool dog.
The reporter made sure he mentioned that Newt, Tatum, and my mother all wrote it out in the bathroom together.
Newt's a beast of a dog.
I wanted to mention that I saw on my way here tonight, I happened to see a sheriff had someone pulled over on State Road 3. And I looked over and saw our friend John Sproles was the sheriff walking up to a car. So glad to see he's doing good.
Good to see that he's doing his job.
And also my wife, the Dainty Daisy Tumbler, she has got a summer drop coming up. Biggest drop she's done yet. She's got 20 cups ready to sell. So hopefully she sells out, and it's a good one. I think these are her best cups yet, but we'll see.
If you're looking for a custom birthday gift for that girlfriend of yours.
That's right.
A custom Dainty Daisy cup.
I'll hit you up after the podcast.
Fantastic opportunity.
So your girlfriend's birthday soon?
Yeah, this month, 18th, 21st.
All right.
There's a rush order
you
fee.
We'll hook you up. She said they're ready to sell, son.
There you go. Dad says they're having a cleanup day at the house Sunday. Check his Facebook post. All are welcome to come. Really quickly, friend of the show, Boss Hog alum, Chris Galt, had the opportunity to go to the Detroit IndyCar Grand Prix. He got hooked up. He got tickets. He was on when they showed the national TV broadcast. They're playing the national anthem, and Galt is standing on pit road with the race team, standing there like he's on a tire changer as the national anthem's going on. And I'm like, they literally let him in anywhere. We love Chris. He's OG. We Are Libertarians from the very beginning. Like episode 15 is literally a fight between Chris Galt and Creighton Harrington, and the first massive split in the history of the show. Chris is not the best at vehicle maintenance. So last summer, Chris had a tire go flat on his car. He put the spare on and moved on with his life and drove around on the spare for months. Until that tire went flat.
And then there's no spare.
And then he's the victim of having no spare. So at the time, I said what was considered to be by everybody in the group chat a heartless answer, Devon. Chris, you need 5 new tires. You literally need 5 new tires.
Yep.
Chris makes good money, by the way. He's not poor.
Chris does fine. 8 months later, He's gotten the opportunity of a lifeline to go to Detroit, to Detroit for the IndyCar race. He was up there all day on Sunday. He's coming back home 11:30 at night. I-69, Fort Wayne, Indiana, hometown of the wonderful Christy Avery. Tire blows out. Chris Galt pulls over on the left side of the interstate in the dark.
Against a wall.
Against a barrier wall. Goes to change the tire. No tire iron.
No spare. Oh. Yeah, no
Tire iron. He hadn't checked. He said, the people that replaced the spare obviously didn't give me my tire iron back.
Oh.
So he's told it's a 5-hour wait to get picked up. And then apparently this is a Chrysler town, so I'm not going to pick on it too much. But there's some sort of an issue with lug nut swelling after about 4 or 5 years on a Chrysler 200. So the roadside assistance people literally couldn't get it off either. I think there's a dissimilar metals problem that causes it to expand, and they couldn't get the wheel off.
What I was told by the mechanic, I have newer wheels and tires. They're Helio wheels, and what I was told is there's like a chromium cap that goes over top of the actual steel lug nut.
Yeah.
This is to keep it from corroding. And that will swell if it heats up. Mine had swollen because I had a sticking brake caliper.
Yeah.
And he's like, but what can be done is taking a pair of channel locks and just breaking that
Just beat the
baby
hell out
off
of them.
there.
So
And getting to the steel underneath.
The incredible Christy Avery took pity on our friend Chris, picked him up, and then he got to buy himself 4 to 5 new tires that next morning, Monday morning, and did make it home safe.
Allegedly, he only bought 4.
Oh.
And poor Christy Avery, she was just out of isolation.
Right.
Because I saw a post of earlier on Sunday. She's like, I'm finally out of isolation, and then she has to deal with Galt.
Well, you've been in isolation that long.
Desperate for anybody. All right, next week's show, we have Councilwoman Betsy Mills coming on. Betsy was heavily involved in the time capsule, but the main thing we want to talk to her about next week is she just did some humanitarian work where on a whim she flew to Poland and spent a week over there helping out some Ukrainian refugees in the war. So I said, man, that is something interesting. We've got to talk to our girl Betsy and see what's going on. So with that, we thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you next Thursday night.